Debt is not good. Like having debt on rental properties, that's good debt because someone else is paying off your loan using other people's money. My wife and I were looking just like house shopping online. If you buy a $5 million property here in Chicago, you're going to pay $60,000 or whatever it was a month for your insurance, for your mortgage, for your property taxes. It's like, why would you do that? Rich people don't have mortgages on their own houses. Rich people do not have debt. That's how you become rich, is either using good debt from a business or a real estate standpoint, and you stay out of personal debt.
Cash flow is king.
Yes, 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 yes. I love real estate. It's great. It's really, really great. You have to pick where you want your money to go. You have to choose which investment route you feel comfortable with and try it all because you may love one and hate another one.
Not every time that you do it, even if it's the same thing, is it going to be as successful as it was in the past. And I've
Totally.
got a lot of great stories about investment real estate that not everyone would want to tell. But
Yeah.
one thing really interesting, Bill, that you said is, what do the rich do? And if you really think about this and get clear on mirroring and modeling what successful people are already doing. And one thing that I noticed that's very common for people who are wealthy is that they want to own the debt. They
Right.
don't want, so everyone has a balance sheet. There's assets and there's liabilities. The typical consumer mind thinks of debt and they only see it under the liability column. But every debt that's a liability to someone shows up on someone else's asset column. For the banks, a loan is good. The word loan is good. Loans are good. That's an asset to the bank. That's cash flow. What's a liability to a bank is deposits. Because that's the money that they owe someone else. And
Right.
so your deposit is an asset to you, but it's a liability to the bank. So literally it's just a role reversal. And for a lot of people, it's hard to visualize that. But if you get clear on the fact that every asset that every liability that you have is someone else's asset, you can really start to think through things a bit differently. And that ability to think through it starts to say, okay, how can I move into that position? What might I do differently to be in a position where I might be in control of the debt versus being beholden to it?
Yeah, I think that this really ties into you having the ability to have monies where you could take a loan out against certain dollar holders. I don't know how we want to quantify this, but I mean, I have policies that I've taken loans out against to use and then pay it back and deploy. And I'm 39, right? I've done it twice. You could pay yourself back. And there's a power to that. I didn't have to go out and get a loan, get my credit screwed up because I have someone checking my credit. You have a better control. But it all comes down to figuring out what to do with your dollars first and automate it. If you can just automate it, if you have $5,000 coming in a month, automate your mortgage, automate your rent, automate your investing, automate your savings. If you just automate all that stuff, stay on the straight and narrow, use your debit card or use cash, it's a game changer. Your life could literally change.
We circle back to behavior, and there's something called Parkinson's law. It shows up in many ways for people. One of the ways it shows up is that expenses rise to equal income.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a function of the income change. It's a function of the behavior that goes to the income change. And as soon as people get really clear on that, they can start to do things. And what Diane Money is going to help people with is if their income goes up. Let's say you got a pay raise, or your spouse gets a pay raise.
Yeah.
You get an extra $100 every 2 weeks, maybe net money showing up. Well, that's not $200 a month. It's actually $200 times 26 weeks, which is more than $200 a month. And now what's common for most people is if they don't watch it and they're not visualizing that money is going to immediately disappear in their life because they're not paying attention. But if they have a tool like Diane Money that can see that now, it can take the impact of that new change, and it can say, well, here's how much quicker we got you out of debt. And your behavior is like, oh my God, I went from here to here. Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And your brain starts to see that possibility, and it begins to make the behavioral adjustments to see that goal become a reality. That's the
Yep.
power of a tool like you've built. Again, an amazing legacy to your mom for providing that motherly advice. What a tremendous thing that you're building and how it's going to help so many people. I mean, just imagine, Bill, that we had 30,000 people eliminate all their debt in the next 4 years because of Diane Money. And then that 30,000 becomes 300,000, and then that 300,000 becomes 3 million.
Yep.
And how much debt gets eliminated and the burden. And so, how much more successful are those families? How much more food is in their bellies? How much more opportunities do their children have on their college funding, on their family vacations, their quality of life, the memories that they put forth? That's the unseen. We talk about what's the seen. That's like an illustration. That's like a rate calculator. These are spreadsheets that we can put numbers into. That's your budget. That's
Oh,
how much
yeah.
money is in the bank account. The unseen is the impact of the decisions you make and how they ripple through time.
I know that I want to help eliminate $1 billion worth of credit card debt. But also, I know when these things happen, the value of the company will go up. And one of the things that I want to do is create a foundation where we're able to literally, depending on the metrics, is give money to every child in the United States.
Mm.
And this is something that's been like on my heart, not in my mind, in my heart. Imagine if every child in the US got $100,000 or $1 million, right? Social Security will be solved, right? Medicare probably won't need it. You'll be able to self-fund and really create accounts for every kid. Probably 100 million kids in the US? This could happen right now with a $100 million donation, right? We don't need trillions of dollars to fix some of these problems. If we have the ability, which I want to be the person to help with this or do this, just seeing my kids and the life that they have, I want all these kids to not have to worry about money like I did growing up. That's going to change the world. That's going to change how things are and give people a brighter hope, whether you're living in poverty or you're living in a mansion. It literally sets the playing field for all kids to have a bigger and better and a bright future. And that's the big purpose behind this. That's really what's been coming to my heart. And that's the true purpose behind the project.
Well, the fact that you've been able to let go, like we talked about earlier, to have some of these things even crystallize more for you, I think is really powerful. And I'm very in alignment with the things you identified, Bill. We're kind of, it's like we're just two different guys in two different countries that think in the same way. It's like, yo,
Yeah.
what have you been doing in my head, Bill? Come get out of there. Uh, but similarly to that same vision and idea, I have a similar thought process around if every child born in Canada and the United States, if they were all provided and could qualify for through an endowment or something, essentially a whole life insurance contract where the premiums were now funded for say 25 years automatically. It was $100, $200 a month equivalent.
Yeah.
The impact of that over 2 generations is that there's going to be tax-free value of capital available. There's going to be constant growth and accumulation. And there's going to be a tax-free payout that automatically reduces the burden on the system that now requires essentially an entitlement of government funding to fix. So if we remove the need of those things, it has a drastic impact over 2 generations on what's possible for the human existence.
It doesn't take much. It just does not take much. And you have the same philosophy. When you put other people first and you take your ego out of things, I think that's when the universe really tries to conspire to help you and put the right people in place. And to be able to do a show like this at this time is just, it's all meant to be. And we're going to go through hard times. Things are going to happen. It happens to everyone, whether you lose a loved one or people get sick, people go through divorce, whatever, you name it, it happens. But just letting go and allowing the universe to come to you, it sounds quirky, but it's so true. It's so true. That's how things work.
I'm super pumped about what you're building in the 3 core elements of the 3 core businesses that you have. We spent a lot of time on Diane Money today, of course. You have some new endeavors around saving massive amounts of tax, very applicable to folks in the United States. I'm looking forward to continuing that conversation on Bill, but before we leave and adjourn for the day, what would you share with people just around your own experience? You talked about it this morning on the
Yeah.
impact of some of these innovative ways of looking at taxes. I shouldn't say innovative on tax savings, but innovative on understanding maybe the tax code in your unique circumstance. You personally, you and your wife are going to see some dramatic savings, which you can then reallocate to investing
Correct.
in maybe another business, employing more people, etc. Walk us through that perspective from you, and what can we look forward to when we have you back?
My perspective on money is make as much of it as you can, keep as much of it as you can from a tax perspective, because that just gives it volume. And when you have volume, you're able to go out, either donate, create, or build on top of those dollars. So you're in more control of your money. There are legal ways for you to plan for great or lower taxation, and it doesn't take a lot to actually make it happen. So I'm happy to speak with people about this, especially the entrepreneurs, the people who are really being affected. I mean, we have clients who pay millions of dollars in taxes every year, and these are the folks who we want to be a hero to, because that's how you could set up the family endowment. That's how you could set up the family foundation. That's how you could start impacting these people's lives. And that's what it's all about. You're choosing where your money's going instead of it being told where it needs to go. So very powerful.
Love it. Well, so happy to have you on the show, Bill. Thanks again for being with us. Thanks for putting Diane Money together and investing so much time, effort, and capital into creating something that's going to make a real difference in the world. And for those of you watching, make sure you tune in next week as we continue to hear the major challenges entrepreneurs are overcoming and how they are innovating for a bigger and brighter future.